I spent 10 years raising my niece after my sister's tragic death. But then she screamed one sentence during an argument, and everything I believed about our family shattered. I never asked to become a mother at 22. I was still in college, still figuring out who I was, what I wanted, what I didn't. But life didn't care. Life handed me a funeral and a newborn at the same time. My sister, Jessica, died in a car accident on a rainy night in April. She had been driving back from a late shift at the hospital. She was a nurse, passionate and brilliant, but always overworked. She had just given birth to her daughter, Emily, 6 months earlier. I remember holding that baby in the hospital, feeling her tiny fingers curl around mine. I never imagined I'd be the one to raise her. But when Jessica died and Emily's father, some man Jessica had never named, was nowhere to be found, the decision fell to me. Or maybe it didn't fall. Maybe I caught it before anyone else could. There was no question. She was mine. The court made it official a month later. I became her legal guardian. A 22-year-old barista with student loans and a broken heart, suddenly responsible for a baby girl with wide eyes and no idea what she'd lost. I gave up everything, my degree, my job, my friends. The dreams I had of moving to New York, of becoming a writer, all of it crumbled under the weight of diapers, formula, and sleepless nights. And I didn't resent it. I didn't. Because Emily saved me just as much as I saved her. She gave me purpose when everything else felt meaningless. When I looked at her, I saw Jessica's nose, Jessica's dimples. And when she laughed, oh God, when she laughed, it was like hearing my sister's voice echoing back from wherever she had gone. I promised myself I'd protect her. Not just legally or physically, but emotionally. I swore no one would ever make her feel the way we felt growing up. Because our family was chaos. Our parents were cold, bitter, and painfully old-fashioned. They cared more about appearances than emotions. Jessica was always the golden child, the obedient one. I was the black sheep, the rebel. But we were close, even as kids. We had a language between us that no one else understood. When she died, it felt like someone had ripped the other half of my soul out. Emily became my reason to keep breathing. I worked 2 jobs, daycare in the mornings, bookstore in the evenings. I rented a small apartment and filled it with secondhand furniture, paper cranes, and lullabies. Emily grew up in that apartment, chasing dust motes in sunlight and calling me Mama before she could say Aunt. I corrected her at first. No, baby, I'd say, brushing her curls behind her ear. I'm your Aunt Claire. But she'd just giggle and say, You're my mama. You smell like mama. Eventually, I stopped correcting her. We had our own world. Birthday pancakes, midnight blanket forts, long walks where she'd tell me stories about her imaginary pet fox named Sparkles. She was smart, fiercely curious, a little stubborn, just like her mother. And every time I looked at her, I felt like I was keeping a part of Jessica alive. I never brought men home. Never dated seriously. I couldn't risk letting anyone hurt Emily or disrupt the little world we had built. When she was 5 and asked me why I didn't have a husband like her friends' moms, I smiled and said, Because I already have everything I need. She beamed at me then, eyes bright, cheeks dimpled, and threw her arms around my neck. I love you, Mama. I love you more. It wasn't perfect. God knows there were nights I cried myself to sleep wondering if I was enough. If I was doing the right thing. If Jessica would be proud or disappointed in how I was raising her daughter. But we survived. We laughed. We healed. Emily knew about her mother. I made sure of that. I kept pictures of Jessica on the walls, told bedtime stories about her bravery, her kindness, her favorite songs. On her birthdays, we'd visit Jessica's grave with cupcakes and marigolds. Emily would talk to her headstone like it was a telephone line to heaven. I miss you, Mommy, she'd whisper. And I'd turn away, hiding my tears behind sunglasses. As Emily grew, she started asking more questions about Jessica, about her dad. I never had good answers, and that haunted me. All Jessica had ever told me, once, in a rushed phone call 3 weeks before the accident, was that the man was complicated, and she didn't want him in Emily's life. I honored that wish. I never searched for him, never dug too deep. But Emily did. When she turned 12, she became more curious, more restless. She started keeping secrets, locking her phone, sneaking out to the library and looking up things I tried to protect her from. She found an old photo of Jessica holding a newborn at the hospital and demanded to know where her father was. I told her the truth, that I didn't know, that Jessica hadn't said much. But that wasn't enough for Emily. "Why didn't you try harder?" she yelled once. "Because your mom asked me not to," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "You don't get to decide that." She was changing. Slowly. Still loving, but sharper. Still kind, but guarded. Sometimes I'd catch her staring at me with an expression I couldn't read, like she was studying me, testing me. Like she was waiting for me to crack. I chalked it up to adolescence. Hormones. Grief. Anger at a world that stole her mother and replaced her with a poor substitute. I told myself it would pass. But somewhere deep inside me, something began to shift. A quiet tension. A whisper of fear. Something wasn't right. Still, I kept going. I didn't know how to stop. I filled her lunchboxes with handwritten notes. Tucked hot chocolate into her hands on rainy days. Listened to every song she loved, even when it made my ears bleed. I did everything a mother could do. And for a while, I believed that was enough. Until the night of the argument. Until the moment Emily screamed that sentence, the one that would change everything. The one that shattered 10 years of love, sacrifice, and blind trust in a family that had always hidden too much. But that comes later. It started with small things. Things that seemed harmless at first. A sudden shift in her tone. A door slammed a little too hard. A birthday card she didn't open. Emily was 15 now. She had grown tall, with long legs and tangled hair and a stare that could slice right through you. She wasn't a child anymore, and she made sure I knew it. Every day, in every word. The Emily I had raised, the one who once brought me flowers made of tissues and begged for lullabies, she was slipping away. In her place was someone sharper, colder, more guarded. I blamed myself. I thought maybe I'd held her too close. Maybe I had smothered her with love and grief and unanswered questions. Maybe the mystery of her father had become a wound I'd failed to heal. One night, I caught her looking through my closet. When I asked what she was doing, she shrugged and said, "Just looking for old pictures." Her voice was casual, but her eyes were scanning, focused, determined. I didn't press. I told myself she was just curious about the past. But curiosity turned to secrecy. She started skipping school, blocking me on her phone, coming home late with no explanation. When I tried to talk to her, really talk, she'd roll her eyes and say, "You wouldn't understand. You never do." I stayed up late, staring at the ceiling, wondering where I'd gone wrong. I had given her everything, sacrificed my entire adult life to raise her, love her, protect her. And somehow, she was slipping through my fingers like sand. The final fracture came on a Tuesday evening. We were in the kitchen. I'd made her favorite mac and cheese with hot sauce, hoping it might thaw the ice between us. She walked in, glanced at the plate, and pushed it away. "I'm not hungry," she muttered. "Emily, you haven't eaten all day." I said I'm not hungry. There was something final in her voice, like a slammed door. I tried to keep calm. "We need to talk." "No, you need to stop pretending everything's okay." Her words hit like a slap. I stood there, stunned. "I'm trying. I'm trying to help you." "No," she cut me off. "You're trying to control me. You always have. You never tell me the truth about anything. You think you're so good, so selfless. But you're just a liar." That word stung. "Liar?" I asked, my voice shaking. "What exactly have I lied about?" She laughed, a bitter, broken sound. "You tell me." I felt my throat tighten. "Emily, I have never lied to you. I've told you everything I know, about your mom, about your dad." He's alive. Her voice sliced through the room like a blade. What? She looked straight at me, her chin trembling but her eyes burning. My dad. He's alive. I found him, online. I've been talking to him for 6 months. I sat down, hard. The room swam for a second. Emily, your mom didn't want him involved. I never even knew who he was. You're lying. Her voice cracked. You knew. You had to know. I swear to you, Emily, Jessica never told me. She said he was complicated, dangerous, and she didn't want him in your life. And you just listened? She shouted. You didn't think I had a right to know who I am? I was protecting you. She stood, her fist clenched, her body trembling. No, you were protecting yourself. You kept me in the dark because it was easier for you. Because you liked being the hero. You liked being my everything. That's not true. You're not my mother, she screamed. And then it came. This sentence. The one that cracked my entire world open. You're not even my aunt. The room went silent. I heard the clock ticking above the fridge. A bird outside the window. The soft buzz of the refrigerator. I couldn't speak. I couldn't breathe. What? What did you just say? I whispered. She stared at me, jaw clenched. You heard me. You're angry. You don't mean that. But she nodded slowly. I do. And then, softer, but just as sharp. I found a letter. Hidden in the box of my mom's things. She wasn't my mom. And you're not my aunt. You're her sister's friend. That's it. You lied to me my whole life. It was like the ground beneath me cracked open. No, that can't be true. No. Jessica and she was my sister. We grew up together. Emily shook her head. She wasn't your sister. You weren't even blood. You just took me. You let me believe a lie for 10 years. My hands were trembling. Where did you find this? In a letter Jessica wrote to my real aunt. She left it with her old journals. It said if anything ever happened to her, she wanted you to raise me because you were her best friend. Because her family would never approve of me, and she wanted me to grow up loved. My heart dropped to my knees. Jessica hadn't been my biological sister. She'd been my best friend. My only real family in a cold, broken world. And she had trusted me to raise her daughter as my own, in secret, because she knew what her blood relatives were capable of. I had believed the lie too. No, not a lie, a story. A story so strong, I let it shape my entire identity. I felt sick. Everything I thought I was. Everything I had sacrificed. It was all based on something that had never been real. I didn't know, I said hoarsely. Emily, I swear to you, I didn't know. She never told me. She trusted you. And you lied to me. Tears were streaming down her face now. But there was no softness in her voice. I don't even know who I am, she said. I don't know who you are. And I can't trust you anymore. She turned and walked out the door. I didn't stop her. I couldn't. I sat there at the kitchen table, staring at the untouched plate of mac and cheese. I felt hollow, betrayed. Not just by her, but by the past. By Jessica. By myself. Because the truth is, she was right. I should have searched harder. I should have told Emily everything I knew, even when the truth was blurry. Instead, I built a life on assumptions. On grief. On good intentions. But good intentions don't matter when someone feels stolen from. Emily's words echoed in my mind for hours. You're not even my aunt. That night, I opened the box. The one I had avoided for years, Jessica's journals, old letters, a few photographs. And there it was. The letter. Dated 3 weeks before her death. Addressed to a woman named Rachel. Her real sister. A woman I'd never met. The words burned into my skin as I read them. If anything happens to me, Claire will take Emily. She's not family by blood, but she's better than any family I've ever known. Our parents can't raise her. They'll ruin her. Claire is the only one I trust. But if Emily ever finds the truth, I hope she forgives me. And I hope Claire can too. I folded the letter with shaking hands. Forgive her? I didn't even know how to begin forgiving myself. And somewhere out there, Emily was walking into the arms of a man I had tried, maybe too passively, to protect her from. A man she thought would give her the answers I couldn't. The betrayal wasn't just hers. It was mine too. And I had no idea what she'd uncover next, or how far she was willing to go to reclaim the truth. After Emily left that night, the silence in the apartment was deafening. I didn't eat, didn't sleep. I just sat there, curled up on the couch, Jessica's letter clutched in my hand, playing the argument over and over in my head like a horror film on a loop. You're not my mother. You're not even my aunt. She had meant it. She had meant every word. For the first time in 10 years, the apartment felt empty. Not just physically. It felt soulless. Like all the warmth, the life, the meaning I had built had drained out through the cracks in the walls. I kept checking my phone, hoping, desperately, that she'd text. That she'd say she was safe. That she'd say she was coming home. Nothing. I called. No answer. I texted. Read. No reply. It was 3 in the morning when I finally broke. I went to her room. It still smelled like her, vanilla body spray and worn-out notebooks. Her hoodie was draped over the chair, her sketchbook half open on the bed, and under her pillow was a printed photo. A man, maybe late 30s, smiling, holding a baby. There was a note scribbled on the back. He found me. He wants to meet. I think I believe him, E. My stomach twisted. This was the man. Her father. The one Jessica had warned me about in half-spoken fears and long silences. I didn't know his name. I didn't know what he'd told Emily. But I knew the kind of danger she was walking into, not necessarily physical, but emotional. Psychological. She was chasing something fragile. The illusion of origin. The fantasy that blood makes someone whole. That knowing your past heals every crack in your heart. I knew better. I'd spent 10 years trying to teach her that love is more than DNA. And still, she had chosen him. I called the police. Not to report her missing, she wasn't a child anymore. But to check if she'd been involved in any incidents. No reports. No hospital entries. Just gone. I waited 3 more days. 3 days of torture. 3 days of watching the front door. 3 days of checking my phone every 10 minutes. Then, on the 4th day, a message arrived. I'm okay. Don't try to find me. That was it. No, I love you. No, I miss you. No indication of where she was or who she was with. I broke down. Completely. I screamed. I punched the wall. I sobbed until my voice gave out. This wasn't just heartbreak. It was identity death. For 10 years, she had been my whole world. Now I wasn't even part of hers. I called every number I could find from Jessica's old contacts. Dug through records. I even searched for Rachel, the real sister. She was dead. Died of cancer 2 years after Jessica. No husband. No kids. So how had Emily found her father? I went back to the photo. Scanned the man's face. There was something unsettling about his smile. Like it didn't quite reach his eyes. I did a reverse image search. And that's when I found his name. Michael Carson. And a record. Not just a Facebook profile. A criminal record. Fraud. Domestic violence. 2 counts of aggravated assault. 1 restraining order filed by Jessica herself, 7 months before Emily was born. I stared at the screen, numb. Jessica hadn't just kept him away because he was complicated. She had feared him. She had legally forced him out of her life. She had gone through hell to protect Emily. And now Emily was with him. I felt my breath tighten. My fingers went cold. I had to get her back. Not for me. For her. Because she didn't know. Because she had only seen the surface, the clean version of him. The one that smiled in old baby photos and said all the right things. But I had the truth. And I would use it. I printed every legal document I could find, filed a report with Child Protective Services, sent anonymous emails with Michael's court history to every contact he'd ever posted publicly. I even tried to track his address down through shady online databases. Finally, after 6 days, I found it. A rental property 3 cities away. That night, I drove there. It was pouring rain, because of course it was. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel, my heart hammering. I didn't know what I was going to do. Break in? Confront him? Beg her to come home? All I knew was that I couldn't just sit in that apartment one more night pretending like I hadn't already lost her. The neighborhood was quiet, too quiet. A cul-de-sac of dead lawns and flickering porch lights. I parked half a block away and walked through the shadows, clutching a folder of documents in one hand and Jessica's letter in the other. The house was dark except for one window upstairs. Her window. I waited. At 11:37 p.m., I saw light flick on inside. Then a shadow. A girl's silhouette. Long hair, pacing. Emily. I almost ran right then. Almost threw pebbles at the glass like some desperate movie cliché. But I didn't. Because I saw him walk in behind her. Michael. He said something. She laughed. My heart shattered. Not because she was smiling, but because I realized she didn't look afraid. She didn't look trapped. She looked like a girl who believed she'd finally found something she'd been missing. And I knew, whatever I did, whatever I said, if I stormed in now, I'd be the villain. I backed away, went back to my car, sat there, crying into the steering wheel for 20 minutes straight. Then I drove home. But not to give up, to regroup. Because Emily was under his spell, and no teenage anger, no false sense of belonging, no biological bond was stronger than the truth. I just had to show her what he really was. And I had to do it before he broke her the way he broke Jessica. I wasn't just reacting anymore. I was planning. And for the first time since she left, I felt something more than grief. I felt resolve. Because if Emily wouldn't come home, then I'd bring the truth to her doorstep. Even if it meant tearing my own life apart to do it. They say revenge is a dish best served cold, but when it's about someone you raised, someone you loved, it doesn't come cold. It comes burning. It comes like a fever you can't shake, a scream locked behind your teeth. That's what I felt the moment I saw him, Michael Carson, standing next to my Emily, touching her shoulder like he had a right. Smiling at her like she was his. Like Jessica hadn't fought so hard to keep him away. He had poisoned her, lied to her, used the holes in her story to make himself the answer. And I had been too slow, too trusting, too blind. But not anymore. The moment I got back home, I made a plan. Not to drag her away. Not to yell or cry or beg. No, that wouldn't work. This wasn't about saving her through emotion. She didn't trust my feelings anymore. So, I'd save her with facts. I spent the next 2 weeks building a case against Michael Carson. Not for the police, they already knew his record, but for Emily. Because I realized Emily didn't need someone to tell her the truth. She needed someone to prove it. I started with his court records, not just what was online. I went straight to the courthouse, paid fees, pulled case numbers, got hard copies. The restraining order Jessica filed, the assault charge from a previous girlfriend, photos from a police report showing bruises on a woman's arms, statements from neighbors who heard screaming. Then I found Jessica's old journals. I had avoided them all these years, too afraid of reopening wounds I barely survived. But now, those pages were my ammunition, and what I read made my blood run cold. He said if I ever left him, he'd take Emily and disappear. I'm scared to sleep. I hear him outside the apartment sometimes. I think he's watching me. No one believes me. No one sees what he really is. My hands shook as I flipped the pages. She had been terrified, alone, and she had trusted me to protect her daughter from him. I had failed, but I wouldn't fail again. I compiled everything into a binder, labeled chronological, photocopied, digitized. Every red flag, every documented threat, every lie he had ever told. And then I waited for the right moment to strike. It came 2 weeks later, in the form of an email. Subject: You were wrong. Claire. He's not what you think. He's kind. He listens. He understands me. Maybe it's you I need protection from. That was the trigger. The moment I realized I couldn't sit back any longer. I drove to their house again, this time, not to watch. This time, to end it. But I didn't knock. I didn't beg. I left the binder at the door with a note. Read it, cover to cover. Then decide who your family is. And I walked away. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't eat. I stared at the ceiling, imagining her reaction. Would she tear it up? Would he get to it first and burn it? Would she even look? But the next morning, my phone rang. Emily. I answered in one breathless second. Her voice was quiet, shaky. Why didn't you tell me everything? Because I thought you weren't ready. Because I didn't want to destroy your idea of him. She was silent for a long time. Then, he told me Jessica was crazy, that she kept me from him for no reason. I closed my eyes. That's what they always say, Her voice broke. He said she made everything up. That the police were on her side because she was a nurse. I took a deep breath. And now you know that's not true. Another long pause. Then, he read the binder before I did. When I asked him about it, he screamed, threw it across the room, called her a liar, called you a thief. I felt my chest tighten. Are you okay? He didn't hit me, she whispered. But I saw it. That look. The same one you described when I was little. The one Mom wrote about in her journal. Tears welled up in my eyes. You believe me now? I'm sorry, Claire. I was so angry. I just wanted answers. I didn't know I was walking into a lie. You were looking for love, I said gently. And he used that against you. Then, come home. Silence. I want to, she said. But I don't think it's safe. I didn't hesitate. Text me the address. I'm coming now. The moment I pulled into the driveway, I saw her waiting outside. Hoodie pulled up, backpack slung over one shoulder. She looked younger than she had in months. Smaller. Scared. I jumped out of the car. She ran into my arms without a word. We didn't speak for several minutes. We just held each other, shaking. Then she whispered, He's inside. He doesn't know I called you. I nodded. Get in the car. I'll handle the rest. But before I could move, the front door opened. Michael. He stood there, barefoot, in a stained t-shirt, eyes wild. Taking her back, huh? He growled. Did you even tell her the truth about who you are? She knows, I said calmly. Everything. Including what you did to Jessica. He laughed, that same chilling, hollow laugh I'd imagined in nightmares. She was a mess. You know that, hysterical. She lied to everyone. She documented everything, I said. The courts believed her. The neighbors saw. And now Emily has seen it too. His face twisted. She's my daughter. She's not property, I snapped. She's a person, and she's choosing to leave. She doesn't know what she wants, he hissed, taking a step forward. I stepped in front of Emily. Take one more step, and I call the cops. Again. This time, I'll make sure you go away for good. He stared at me, and for a terrifying second, I thought he might lunge. But then Emily said, loud and clear, touch her, and I swear I'll testify. That stopped him. He looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time, I saw it. Fear. Not of me. Of her. Of the truth she now held. Of the strength she now had. We got in the car. We drove away. And he didn't follow. We didn't speak much on the way back. Just soft music and long, aching silence. But as we pulled into our driveway, Emily reached over and took my hand. I still don't know who I am, she whispered. But I know who you are. And I know you never stopped loving me. I nodded, tears sliding silently down my cheeks. I never will. For the first time in weeks, I felt something like peace. I had gotten her back. But more than that, she had found herself. She had looked her history in the face and walked away stronger. Revenge wasn't rage. It wasn't fire or screams. Revenge was truth. Revenge was breaking the chain of lies and giving her the freedom to choose love over blood. Life didn't return to normal, not really. There's no going back to who we were before the truth cracks the ground beneath you. But Emily came home. That was what mattered. We kept things quiet, no therapy right away, no big sit-downs. Just being together, letting the air settle, cooking breakfast side by side, watching bad movies in the dark, walking slowly, gently, back into each other's trust. I never asked her for forgiveness. I didn't need the words. Because I saw it in the way she started calling me Mom again, without hesitation. In the way she'd reach for my hand during hard moments. In the way she'd linger in the kitchen when I was washing dishes, just to be near me. Michael was gone. For now. I had filed another restraining order, and the evidence we had gathered this time was overwhelming. Emily's testimony, the binder, even screenshots of his threats after she left. All of it built a wall he wouldn't be able to climb over easily. The police warned me to stay alert, but deep down, I knew he was done. He'd lost his grip on her. He had no reason to fight anymore. Weeks passed. Emily went back to school. Quietly, carefully, she started telling pieces of the story to her closest friend. She even joined a teen support group on her own. I didn't push. I let her heal her way. But even as things calmed, a shadow remained. A nagging feeling I couldn't shake. There was something Jessica hadn't told me. Not just about Michael. About Emily. I saw it in the pages of her journals. A pattern I hadn't noticed before. Repeated phrases. Scribbled outlines. Letters I didn't recognize. And that last letter. The one she wrote to her sister Rachel. There was something else tucked behind it. I hadn't seen it before. Maybe I hadn't wanted to. It was a sealed envelope. With my name on it. Claire, open this if Emily ever finds the truth. My hands trembled as I peeled the seal. Inside was a single page. Typed. Neat. Like Jessica had wanted this to be clear. Unmistakable. Claire, if you're reading this, then Emily knows. Knows that I wasn't her biological mother. Knows that Rachel wasn't just my sister, she was Emily's mother. I never wanted to lie. But Rachel made me promise. She was only 16, pregnant, scared. Our parents were ready to throw her out. She was fragile, so fragile. And when she gave birth, she looked me in the eyes and said, "You raise her. Tell her you're her mom if you have to. But don't let her grow up with the shame they gave me." I didn't want to do it. But then Rachel died. Cancer. Fast and merciless. And I looked at that baby, and I thought maybe I could give her a life worth protecting. I'm sorry. For all the layers. For all the pain it caused. I didn't do it to hurt you. I did it because I knew you'd love her like no one else ever could. I just never thought the truth would come back like this. Please, if she hates me, let her hate me. But tell her this. She was never unloved. Not for a second. Jessica. My breath left my body in one long, slow collapse. Jessica wasn't Emily's mother. Rachel was. Which meant Emily wasn't just the niece I had raised. She was my real niece. By blood. By bone. The one thing she had screamed, "You're not even my aunt," was the one thing she had been wrong about all along. I sat with the letter in my lap for a long time. I didn't know how to tell her. Didn't know if I should. But that night, over tea, I said softly, "There's something more. Something I didn't know until today." Her eyes narrowed. "More secrets?" I shook my head. "The last one." I handed her the letter. Watched her read. She didn't say anything at first. Just stared at the page. Then, in a whisper, "So, Jessica wasn't my mom. I nodded. Rachel was. Yes. She looked up at me, voice flat. And who is Rachel to you? I hesitated. She was my best friend's sister. But that means I didn't have to say it. Her face changed. Subtle. A small, stunned inhale. You are my aunt. Tears spilled from her eyes. After everything, you're actually my aunt. I nodded, unable to speak. She started crying. Hard. Then she laughed, a broken, breathless sound. I hated you, screamed at you, said you were nothing, and you were the only one who ever was something real. I pulled her into my arms, and for the first time in months, we cried together, not from pain, not from betrayal, but from relief, from the strange, cruel mercy of the truth. The next day, she wrote something in her journal, then tore it out, folded it, slid it under my door. It said, I don't know who I'll be yet, but I know where I come from. And that's you. Thank you for choosing me long before you ever had to. Emily, some truths tear you apart. Some stitch you back together. And sometimes, the revenge you seek isn't for yourself. It's for the ones who never got a chance to fight back. Jessica, Rachel, they trusted me to protect her. And in the end, I did. Not with lies, with truth.